listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Sweep the League, the Tuesday night delight edition of Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. coming to you live from Sweep the League Studios, from the MCS General Contracting Studios. Shout out to MCS General Contracting. Chris Lay and the boys will take care of you 100% of the time, all the time. Guaranteed work. It'll be done right the first time. It's guaranteed. It's backed by them and backed by us here at Sweep the League. It's going to be myself. It's going to be not Coach Joe. It's going to be Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. Coach Joe making his comeback here pretty soon. It's kind of like the WWE wrestling. When you have that return, you don't know when he's coming back. So you just got to be prepared for when Coach Joe does make his comeback here at Sweep the League. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Derek Gervin. We got a lot to get into tonight. It's going to be an NBA-filled night. It's going to be an NFL-filled night. So just be prepared because we got a lot to get into. Let's not waste any time. It's to bring him on right now. Hall of Famer himself, Derek Gervin. Derek, you doing all right, man?
Yes, sir, man. I'm just getting in from a high school basketball game, actually. Veterans Memorial High School versus Wagner.
Man, what was that game after?
Good night. It was at Wagner.
Wagner, okay. Who ended up winning?
Wagner by 10.
Wagner by 10. Okay. All right. We can get
man.
How's the high school scene right now? How's the high school scene right now?
Well, I don't know, man. For me, it's different because I'm not used to these 46 to 36 type games and 4 8-minute quarters. But I guess it's something, sadly, that I have to get used to right now.
Well, I mean, if you're getting that low of a score to the bad shooting or good defense, I mean, some of the NBA doesn't have very much anymore.
Well, it's really a common, when I'm from a different era. When I get into the paint and I got the shot, to me that's the high percentage shot, and I'm not throwing it back out to the 3-point line, so teams can run you off the 3-point line, and then you just end up doing a lot of dribbling. And then by the time if you make a certain amount of passes, if you overpass, you got a turnover coming or either a bad shot. So, I believe in playing inside out first. If I get in the paint and I got the shot, I'm taking the shot, and then that'll open up the outside game. And I'm hoping that these high schools start to understand that.
It's a popular topic that you and I have covered it, I think, last week, and it became more popular today on social media, especially on the X world. And it was the decline in the ratings for NBA basketball. And you and I, we hit on that subject last week, actually. And we talked about it, how, it's a different era of basketball. It's not as tough as it was back in the day. You can travel now. I mean, literally you can travel. I've heard people say, well, no, gather step's not. No, there's a gather step. Yeah. But it was revised back in like 2009, I believe, or something. So they had to rewrite the rules, and we put the blame on Adam Silver. Just a lot of mess going on today on X on who's to blame for NBA ratings going down. Different style game. I'm not going to hate on the game because it's a different style of player. It's a different style game than what we grew up on. But you see a lot of people hating as far as,
why they're hating, Rudy? Why they're hating? It's one word. Why the ratings are down. It's called predictability.
Yeah.
The game is too easy to predict today. So when people tune in and spending their money either on television or going to the games, they don't want to know what's going to happen. Intrigue is what sells. And when it's predictable, people don't want that. You can get predictable at home. So you want something that's going to be what the unexpected, I'll say. And when it's predictable, then your ratings are going to drop. Your boxing, certain fighters, say you got 2 light punching guys, right? And they like to move and all of that. And I'll bring up a guy in boxing, his ratings, he's a very good fighter. But you know who Shakur Stevenson is?
Yeah, I've heard him.
People don't like Shakur because he moves around a lot and he doesn't throw a lot of punches. And then on the other side, you got Gervonta Tank Davis, who is going for the KO. David Benavidez, who's going for the KO. And you know you're going to get action. People don't want to pay for stuff that's boring now because it's expensive. And so they don't want the predictability. They don't want predictable stuff.
You know, so I saw it earlier, and I can't remember where I saw. I think it was on TikTok where I saw, and I don't remember exactly who said it. So once I find it, I'll definitely repost it and give them credit. But they said that with the NBA, so in the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and all that, you hit it right. You hit it right on the head right there, where it was unpredictable. But you had a big guy. You had a Jordan back then, and then you had everybody. It was almost like a super villain, and you had everybody tuning in to see, you know, are the Celtics going to be able to stop Mike? And it could be just a regular season game. Or, you know, it's Mike against the bad boy, the Pistons. It was almost like TV drama in a way back in the day, because it was literally must-see TV. For me, you know, I've told you many times, I would tune in for the Supersonics Nuggets game. Why? Because, I mean, you knew you were going to have Sean Kemp. You know, you could get the high-flying alley-oops of Peyton, but you also knew at the same time, you know what? If Sean Kemp's going to do a 360, well, I'm going to throw a guy out here in Denver. Was Robert Pack going to climb the ladder and dunk on Sean Kemp or dunk on Frank Burkowski or somebody? And to me, that's the type of basketball I liked. It wasn't predictable, like you said, where you're going to get 85 to 93-point attempts a night. And even on a 3-on-1 fast break, you're starting to see them pull up for three. It is so boring these days. Excitement for me is slam dunks. It's, you know, posterizing people. It's getting to the lane, you know, kind of this.
Yeah, going to the post, throwing it into the post.
Exactly. That's basketball, and that's what I love. And, I mean, you're right. The predictability is just terrible, man.
But Rudy, you play basketball. You know, so you know what a rhythm shot is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when guys can take a shot in rhythm,
yeah,
then your percentages go up dramatically. So if you're throwing the ball into an Akeem Olajuwon on the low post or the mid post, or you're throwing it to a Shaq, or you're throwing it to a Jabbar, I can go on and on, Tim Duncan, and then you work a team over and you're getting to the basket, it makes the defense start scrambling. And when the defense starts doing that, then it opens up the outside. So today we're doing it backwards. They're playing outside instead of inside first and then throwing it out. And that's boring. You know, guys today, how many times have you seen this year alone when guys drive to the basket, they have wide open layup. And you're talking about pros. Instead of taking the layup, what do? They throw it out to the three-point line, and the ball either gets tapped out of bounds or they end up taking a low percentage shot. And that's part of the reason why the ratings are down. You want to see people attack the paint, make the defense guard, play defense. And they don't do that today. They don't make guys defend. And that's what part of the reason the ratings are down.
Yeah, the ratings are just horrible. And, you know, a lot of people can come out and saying, you know, one thing I do pride ourselves here on Sweep the League, and, you know, I understand it's major stuff to talk about, but one thing I do pride is we keep the sports primarily. And other people have ideas of why ratings down, and that's their own opinions. But the true fact of the matter is when you knew the NBA was hot and it was popular, I mean, it was because you had the showcase of stars. And like Tim mentioned, you were tuning in to Bulls versus Knicks. You were tuning in to Heat Knicks. You know, you wanted to watch that Spurs Lakers game because it was must-see TV. You knew that Kobe was going to, you know, be his Kobe self. And then you also knew that Shaq, all 7 foot, one of him was going to be in the paint. I mean, you never expected Shaq to come out. You knew Timmy was going to be in the low block. I mean, you already predicted, but you didn't know still what the outcome was going to be.
Rudy, or even slash it to the basket. You remember a guy by the name of Manu Ginobili?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, you know, guys like that, slashing to the basket. And if they don't have the shot, then they create for others. But it's hard to create for others when you're already playing, when you got 4 guys playing around the perimeter, and then the 5th guy pops out to the perimeter. You got Draymond Green shooting threes. Now, in reality, why do I want Draymond shooting threes? Or Rudy Gobert, who they don't give the ball when he's right under the basket. You know, that kind of stuff. And then it causes friction in the locker room. I know the game has changed, man, but it's down 28% just this year alone. Yeah. And it's because people are tired of the predictability. They want to see, what do you hear them talking about now? They wish they let them play more physical. Haven't you been hearing that?
Yeah, I have.
They tired of the 4 and 5 steps.
I am.
You hear young people, you hear people from this era saying that now.
Yeah.
They want the game similar to what it used to be. It doesn't have to be exact same way, but you got to play smart basketball. And that's what we've gotten away from today. And that's one of the reasons the foreigners who play from overseas, that's why they keep getting MVP. We're playing a different brand of basketball here in the United States. And right now, I'm not going to say that it's that good. That's why the ratings are down 28% in the 2024-25 season.
Well, Lonnie Walker is playing overseas, and he said that he enjoys playing over there because they play basketball the right way. And that's a guaranteed fact. I mean, they play basketball the right way over there. Now, what's the NBA doing to get the ratings up? Well, the All-Star game has been terrible for I don't know how many years. So they decided to say, okay, we're going to reformat it. This coming year for the 2025 NBA All-Star game, it's a mini tournament with 4 teams in 3 games. So 24 NBA All-Stars are selected, divided evenly into 3 8-player teams. 4th team is a Castro Rising Stars champion, yada, yada. Not to go over everything, it's basically just a tournament. 24 All-Stars are going to make it, and they're going to just do a big tournament. I don't understand, Derek, how All-Star games in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s were still so damn competitive, and you tuned in for it. Then all of a sudden, the next group of players come in, and it's like a regular NBA game because they're jacking up threes, they're shooting beyond half court. It's an All-Star game. Yeah, it's an All-Star game. I totally get it. You're there to have fun. You're there to do this. You're there to do that. I get that point. But even that has become very unwatchable. I don't even look forward to watching the All-Star. And to be honest, I haven't watched an All-Star game probably in a good 3 or 4 years. I mean,
since the 200 points? Since the 200 points?
Yeah, basically.
Who wants to see that? I mean, come on. I want to see. You remember it used to be like, even when Kobe and LeBron were going at each other. Yeah. I remember when it used to be Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas going at each other. That's what people want to see. And we are there to have fun. But at the end of the day, it's when we come to that 4th quarter, it's about winning. Yeah. And we've seen them gotten away from that today. It's just a different mentality. I'm hoping they figure it out. But anytime you have to go to an in-league tournament, you have to go to a play-in tournament, now you have to reformat the All-Star game. That's not good.
Yeah, it's terrible. Tim's saying the All-Star games are so trash now these days, and he missed the old days. I agree with them. I mean, I can bring up the memories, man. Alamo Dome when Shaq dunked on David Robinson. I mean, you're talking players played. I mean, go a little further back. Magic Johnson coming back after his HIV announcement in Orlando, hitting that step back 3 over Isaiah Thomas. I mean, there's so many great memories from those days. I mean,
hey, Rudy.
Yeah.
Don't not to cut you off, but I got to remind, don't forget how Michael Jordan in his Hall of Fame speech, he was still mad about the All-Star game his rookie year when my brother was going against him, and he felt they were freezing him out.
Yeah.
He talked about that in his speech. So after his 14, 15-year career, what was still on his mind? How they froze him out in his first All-Star game.
Which you've been on the show before.
Matter.
Yeah, you've been on the show before. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, I don't see that happening at all. I mean, in an All-Star game, if anything.
Guys took it personal. Remember, it's a different game, man. We weren't helping the other team up. Even like the Pro Bowl. Look what happened with the Pro Bowl. It just became a total joke. People want competition. Competition sells. We don't want friendship. I can understand guys today joining up with other teams. I've never liked that, but I guess that's where we are today. But in my era, it was like I didn't want to play with you. I wanted to whoop your butt. And I'm hoping we get back to those days. Guys like Giannis. Giannis doesn't want to team up with other players. He wants to kick their butt. And that's what I respect about Giannis.
Yeah, they're far and few. I mean, even who could we name? Giannis, Jokic. Joker's another one. He just wants to win. He can show he wins with anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. He doesn't have to go out and get, these certain superstars or anything like that. But it's far and few, Manny, man. Tim has a quick question for you. I know where this is. Where does he rank David Thompson on the all-time great list, Eric? Where do you rank David?
Well, David's best years were in the ABA. But, if they count the ABA like they should, the NBA doesn't try to incorporate the ABA very much, as you know, and they don't count the points from the ABA. But David Thompson, to me, easily a top 50 player. You go by skill set and all that. A healthy David Thompson, we're talking, to me, a top 20, 25 player without question, all time.
Would you say something about David Thompson? I don't know if a lot of people know, and I'm going to go on a limb here, but would you say probably one of the greatest dunkers of all time?
Greatest player. I mean, the guy 6'4", man, could jump out the gym. He played on both ends. He was blocking centers shots, and he would dunk on anybody. A healthy David Thompson, easily for me, top 20 player. And he was a very good passer, very good defender. He could run the floor. Man, he was getting up and over the square. I mean, there was not much he couldn't do. He could shoot the jump shot. He was a complete player. And a 6'4" body, very athletic. He could do it all.
Man, yeah, David Thompson, man. I saw him. I can't really say I ever saw him play, but I did see a lot of highlights in older games when they used to do ESPN Classic. I used to watch a lot of the older games, and man, David Thompson.
Who did my brother beat out to win his first scoring title? David Thompson went and played against my Detroit Pistons, my hometown. He had 73 points.
What did George have to get that night?
59.
59. That's what it was. I don't know why it was 60, but it was 59. Okay.
Well, they never talk about that. He had 63, and he sat out the last 3 minutes of the third quarter and all the fourth quarter. They talk about Kobe's 60 or whatever. George had 63 and played 33 minutes as well.
I got to ask you. I know I've asked you on the phone, but we got to ask you on the show. What would he have finished if he played the fourth? Would he had an 80 plus?
80. No, yeah, like Kobe with the 80, 81. No doubt about it. he was on that pace, but he didn't want to play anymore because he had already accomplished his mission. His goal was accomplished.
Man, why can't we get some older games like that, man? We got to watch more older games because that's when the NBA was the NBA, man. I loved it. I loved every little bit of it. And I'm looking at the All-Star game. I don't know what it's going to do for the league. I mean, ratings are down. It's kind of sad when the best All-Star game is in MLB. Pro Bowl don't mean nothing anymore. NBA don't mean nothing anymore. NHL, I'll give NHL. I watched the NHL All-Star game.
They still play.
Yeah, I watched the MLB All-Star game. They have something to play for. You win the MLB All-Star game, you get home field advantage for the World Series. So, I mean, everything. I don't see where the NBA or pro football. I'm going to leave the Pro Bowl out because you're getting hit hard all season. You're playing tough all season. I get the Pro Bowl being relaxed. And if they wanted to do, I think they did flag football last year. If they want to do something like that, I'm all for that because football is different. But an NBA, man, it still has to be competitive somewhere. I don't think entering a new format makes it any better.
Why shouldn't it be competitive when you got guys load managing?
Yeah.
You should be able to go all in for one night. Remember, the All-Star game prices are very expensive.
Very, very.
So I want to see real basketball. I want to see guys go at each other. I don't want to see the 40-footers. I could see that in the skills contest or something. Make the skills contest where they playing horse or something like that. Start doing that kind of stuff. Or, you can find ways to make it exciting. But when the game starts, I want to see basketball. And I want guys to go at each other. That's what the competitive fire, that's what we grew up on. And I'm never going to feel any different. I want to see guys compete.
I know we've asked before, but what can we possibly do to get them to compete? I mean,
they're already making a boatload of money. I mean, how about the home court advantage, like you said with baseball? The the conference that whoever wins, their conference gets the advantage in the championship. Stuff like there are several ways they can make it where guys play hard. Right now, they're coddling these guys. They're paying them a boatload of money. And then, I love Adam Silver, but he's a very nice guy. And some of these, the players, you can see it, they kind of walk over him. And he should not have to beg these guys to play hard when all these fans, you got fans traveling from different states to see that all-star game. It's not just your hometown. They coming from all over the country to see good basketball. And you should not have to beg these players to play hard when they're already making $40, $50, $60 million a year.
Yeah, and they brought up Joel Embiid earlier. I want to say Stephen A. Smith brought up Joel Embiid earlier, and again, he said that he's pretty close to being a Ben Simmons type of player, and that means availability. You've always said the best ability is availability. I mean, he brought up a point that just went over my head, and the fact that Joel Embiid looked really good in the summer for Olympics. Really excited, wanted to play. Season starts. Guy didn't want anything to do with basketball.
They just gave him $69 million a year too, right? How dumb was Philadelphia? They gave him $345 million for 5 years to sit on the bench and to play 41 games a year if that's up to him. And he still would play less than that because he'll be missing from injury, just like he got hit in the face the other day. So to me, that's he out another month because of that? Yeah,
probably so. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Probably so. And it's crazy because what do you have? You probably have, $100 million in two players, and Paul George really still hasn't come up big for him at all. So
he finally had a good game. I think he had Maxey had 40 and Paul George had 35, I believe, the last game. Yeah. So he earned his money for one game so far this year.
Yeah, because him and Joel have combined played a total of 20 games in the year. Combined. 14 for Paul George, 6 for Joel Embiid.
$122 million a year between those two.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. $122 million, and you only have 20 games total for them. I mean, there are 24 games in. Paul's missed 10. Joel's missed 18? Is that right?
Don't that go by how many he's missed. Go by how many he's played. It'll make your math a lot easier.
Man, it's terrible.
What did he play, about 6 or 7 games?
Yeah, Joel Embiid, he's only played 6 games. And like I said, Paul George is at 14. So, I mean...
14 games so far.
Yeah. Combined. Now, they've only been in the lineup, I believe, 5 or 6 games together, if even that. Because, I don't know, man. It's a mess in Philly. It's so big of a mess that I don't even know what to do with it. You're talking to Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr. Something brought up here. And I brought up this guy. We're in trade deadline now. We're in trade season. And Kyle Kuzma, the Wizards are lowering their asking price for Kyle Kuzma. I bring it up because a kid that, was pretty, he was starting to rise up, LA Lakers. I've never really liked his attitude, but there absolutely is no way any team would want Kyle Kuzma. I would probably prefer Jordan Poole first. I prefer neither, to be honest with you. But of the two, I would probably look at Jordan Poole first. But Kyle Kuzma's, this is a career that's just gone downward, Derek.
I actually like him with a good team, Rudy. I think he could help a team. I won't say Philadelphia right now, but I think he could help them. There are some teams that's in the running that I think he could help at the forward spot. He needs some motivation. You pretty much knew what was going to happen when he went to the Wizards. It didn't take rocket science to know that when you go in there to that program, the mentality is a losing mentality from the front office all the way down. And when you brought in him and Jordan Poole, basically as your two franchise players, that wasn't going to go well. You have two undisciplined players, very talented, but no one to stay on top of them and make them play the game of basketball the right way. And I think if he went to a good team, even maybe back to the Lakers, to be honest. But there's some teams right now I think he could help. He could help Denver. I think he could help a few teams out there. He could help Memphis. But what Kyle Kuzma are you going to get? If you got a tough coach that's not a walk or a pushover, like Spoelstra or that kind of coach, I think he still has some value.
It makes me wonder if you can get max value out of Kyle Kuzma still. You probably can, but
not max value, but he still has some value. He's still a pretty good player, Rudy. You can get 20 a night, or if you get him on a good team, he's good for 15 points a night and 5, 6, 7 rebounds. So, if you get him with the right team, you got, it's hard coming to practice every day, and you pretty much see the outcome on the wall. Your team is probably going to come up short in all the big games. And, that can get frustrating to a lot of guys. And they don't want to show up every day to practice. It becomes like humdrum. Oh, here we go again. But if you give a guy like that some motivation, you'd be surprised what he still is a very good ball player, man. He's just not in the right situation.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's been getting a lot of attention lately. He's on the trading block. Miami's not going to rush him to do anything right away. He's been linked probably to the Warriors. I think the Suns is another team that's linked to him. Again, another guy that's paid a lot of money. He's owed a lot of money. He can get you a couple of steps closer, but another guy that I just personally, I have my GM hat on. If you're going to give him to me cheap, I'll take it, but I'm not, scratching and crawling to go after Jimmy Butler.
Well, Jimmy thinks he's a superstar. That's the biggest problem. He's a star. At no point in his career, to me, has he been a superstar.
Never.
He played well with the Timberwolves. He's a guy you want on your team mainly, I'll say, in the playoffs. He kind of takes off during the season. He gets injured as well now. But during the season, it seems like he doesn't have any motivation. Kind of reminds me of my guy. I'll be honest about it. Kawhi didn't seem like a guy that was really motivated for the regular season. He tried to save some energy for the playoffs. And Jimmy's the same type guy to me. But I don't see him. That's not a superstar. He shows up when he feels like showing up. And that to me, that's not a superstar.
So what, if you're looking at Warriors and Suns and maybe even the Lakers, which of those three teams would be able to work with him? The chemistry probably for all three. I don't know if he meshes well with Phoenix, with Durant and Booker. I see him getting a lot of pushback in Golden State with Steve Kerr. The Lakers are so much of a mess that I don't know if I would add Jimmy to one of those teams. It's a big gamble for a guy that you just don't know what you're going to get.
I would have said Phoenix, but we already got guys that need the ball like Booker, and you got Bradley Beal.
Exactly.
If you could get Bradley Beal out of there, I think, but you can't because he's one of the two guys that can control their own destiny, him and LeBron. But without Bradley Beal, I would think that Jimmy would fit in there perfectly because one thing he brings is toughness. But Bradley Beal will probably veto that trade. I'm sure he would. And with the Lakers, I don't know, man, because, with LeBron, maybe that'll be a good move playing with LeBron. Jimmy at this point in his career, because I think LeBron would give him the respect that he deserves. I know AD would. And then he brings toughness. So out of those three, I would think Phoenix, the Lakers, or the Warriors, I would think that he would fit with the Lakers better right now, especially with LeBron being on the tail end of his career.
Could be. Lakers probably could be the better team for Jimmy for trade deadline sense. We've got another team we're going to get into as well. Our very own friend here, Sweep the League, Locked On Spurs on Jeff Garcia, went out and tweeted. I don't even know if it's retweeted anymore. It's not Twitter anymore. He reposted via Bleacher Report. They came out with 3 trade targets saying San Antonio Spurs are, guys they should go after. One guy we talked about was LaMelo Ball. I mentioned Colin Sexton last week on that. And then Zach LaVine. I've always said out of the 3 guys, definitely I would like LaMelo to be a Spur. I don't know what you kind of have to give up for him. More than likely probably would be Devin Vassell, maybe Keldon. You're going to have to give up some draft picks. The Colin Sexton deal, I like it. And I mentioned it last week to you guys about it because I think with Colin Sexton, you're not going to have to give up a whole lot to get him. Why? Because Utah doesn't want to win right now. So they don't want players that are going to help them get better in return. So of the 3, I think that Colin Sexton makes a lot of sense, but then you get a jammed backcourt, Chris Paul, Colin Sexton, Stephon Castle. You have Trey Jones. So I don't know if you have your GM hat on for the Spurs, what would you do in this situation? Me personally, if it's not right, I'm kind of passing on all 3 for right now.
Who was the first one before Zach LaVine?
LaMelo Ball.
I'm passing on LaMelo for the Spurs. I still think De'Aaron Fox. And I'm passing on Colin because I still told you about I'm not going to change my mind on De'Aaron Fox.
No, don't change it. That's my first thought.
And I don't think Zach LaVine fits because we go back to availability. The best ability is availability. Yeah. And Zach gets hurt a whole lot. Very talented player, but I don't know if I want to give up Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell to get a player that's not going to be here a lot. Devin got hurt. This has been, one injury for Devin? But over the course of his career so far, he's been healthy. Keldon has been healthy. I don't know if I'll be willing to give up those guys for a guy that is still a question mark to me. I like Zach, very talented player, but I don't think he makes the team better.
Yeah, and that's why I said I think I would pass on all 3. I can see LaMelo. LaMelo's playing really good this season. I think he could fit well. I think he would get the mentorship from Chris Paul. But I think if you're looking at Charlotte, they're not a bad team. So they're going to want some really good players in return. You may have to end up turning over a Devin Vassell. You may have to turn over possibly even a Keldon, and you're going to have to give up a lot of draft picks. So I think that's the one that I would stay away from. Of the 3, it's Colin, but you're right. Been screaming De'Aaron for a long time.
Where do you think LaMelo would prefer to play? For one, is in L.A.
Yeah, definitely.
Miami type play. That's what LaMelo's about. Can you imagine talking to his dad and you bring up the Spurs? I'm just being honest.
You don't think his dad would win with Wemby?
It's not a big media market. Remember, it's about growing their brand. Even when they came out with the shoes and all of that, the BBB or whatever they came out with.
Did you hear Alonzo say that those shoes ruined his career?
Yeah. But I'm saying they're like a family that wants to be in the Hollywood type thing. Like LeBron wanted to go to L.A. You know, you can see that. Where's LeBron been other than Cleveland? Miami and L.A. LaMelo's the same kind of player. So I would love to play. Any player that has brains should want to play with Wemby. But you got to remember the nightlife, Rudy. That factors in. Players aren't going to come out and say that verbally. Well, maybe James Harden would. But nightlife does matter.
Well, that's why James is doing everything he can to get back to Houston. That's why
they got his jersey retired in the strip club. I'm just being honest. You can't sue me for defamation because it's the truth.
Oh, man, definitely not, man. Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr., we talking some NBA stuff here. We got some NFL talk here. You want to take a quick break or you want to go right into the NFL?
It's up to you, man. I'm here. I want to watch the game. I'm here.
You know what? We'll do our commercial break at the end of the show. We're going to jump right into NFL talk because there's so much NFL talk. It's not even funny that I think the biggest news that came out today is this right here. Shout out to MCS General Contracting, proud sponsors of Sweep the League. We'll get to their commercial here in just a little bit, but shout out to Leha and the boys for MCS General Contracting. The biggest news, Derek, obviously is this right here. This man right here getting benched for this man right here. It's finally Michael Penix time in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins going to the bench. Coach Raheem's basically making the change and saying that we are going with Michael Penix this week. And it's a very big head scratcher because I, for one, with my fandom hat on, have been calling for this. But I also know deep down inside in the bottom of my gut, you're still in a playoff race. So, I mean, yeah, Kurt is trash. I'm not going to cover up. I'm not going to be nice about it. He's been trash lately, but you're still in a playoff race. So if this fires back in your face, I don't know what to think about it. I'm excited, but I'm also wondering, is it the right time? I don't know.
Well, for me, it's not the right time. And if it was going to happen, I thought it should have happened about 3 weeks ago. But the biggest issue is now you're talking about benching a quarterback that's making what, $45 million a year?
Yeah. So we got to remember it's 180 million, but 90 is guaranteed.
Still a lot of money. Half his contract is guaranteed.
That's half the contract is guaranteed right there. So
if Penix doesn't pan out, then what do you do? Since you just sat down your quarterback, and for the biggest problem I got, if he goes 0 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and now you're going to decide to change when they still have one more shot at the playoffs, doesn't make sense to me.
Well, they're literally a game out of being division leaders. I mean, Tampa's 8-6, Atlanta 7-7. I mean, I totally get I get a coach saying, we want to fire up our team. Maybe benching Kirk will maybe get, light a fire in his ass and he'll start playing better. I don't know. I understand it to a point if you're sitting there and you're, 3-11 on the year. You're 4-10. Playoffs are not there. Or even if you're just outside the playoffs, but you're not going to make it. I totally get that. And I also get the fans that say, well, we want to see what we have in Penix. You are literally a game out of the division lead. The timing of this, as much as Rudy Campos Jr., as much as I wanted Penix to play and start and all this when Kirk struggled, I also understood there's still a playoff race here. It's hard to do this to a guy, when you're still in a playoff race.
Two guys, Rudy, because first of all, you're taking Kirk's confidence. He has struggled. You're not giving him a chance to play out of it. But here's the biggest issue for me. You got Michael Penix, who's a rookie, And now you're going down to the playoff push. So all these teams are playing as hard as they can play. And now you're putting a guy in there basically that hasn't played all year, no kind of game experience. And, the game has to slow down for you as the season goes on. It becomes where, these you're throwing him in the fire right now. And I don't think it's the right time because they're going to be coming after Michael Penix, man. And this is something that's new to him that he's never been through in his career. And I just don't think this is the time to do it. If you were going to get him incorporated into the offense, you had weeks to do it, while Kirk's 3 or 4 weeks ago. But to do it right now with 3 games left, I think that's a big mistake. And it's unfair to Penix. And it's unfair to Kirk Cousins.
Very, very unfair, because those times when Kirk was, when he was struggling, he was throwing interceptions left and right. You could have easily put Penix in there, like you said. I mean, at Minnesota, you were down. I mean, you lost the game 42-21. Kirk was having a horrible game. That's when you pull Kirk. But all right, Mike, go ahead and get in there. Let's see what we got against Minnesota. We're probably not going to win this game, so no big deal. Get in there and do that. Their next game is coming up. It's against the Giants. Now, the remaining schedule is Giants, Commanders, Carolina for the Falcons. You look at the Buccaneers. They go to Dallas this weekend. Then it's Carolina, New Orleans. So the chances of Atlanta winning out, pretty good. Pretty good. Same with Buccaneers. I think the Dallas game is a little bit of a trip up for Tampa Bay. I can definitely see that. But again, what we just mentioned, it's just bad timing. As there's nobody in the world. I'll put it back. There's nobody in San Antonio that wants to see Michael Penix more than I do. I want to see what we have, but not at the cost of a playoff, position. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Other than that, I mean, the other news coming out, that's another tough pill to swallow, was this one. I like the uniform that he's got on because everybody's pointing the finger of Shedeur Sanders going to be a Giant. And that's kind of where, a lot of people are saying Deion wants him to go. Dov Kleiman says, and he says basically with Sanders, the Giants are easily a playoff caliber team. I kind of clapped back when I reposted it, and I was like, no, they're not. There's nothing that you could see in Shedeur that says that he will turn the entire Giants roster team into a playoff team. You have Malik Neighbors. You have Tyrone Tracy as your running back. Offensive line is decent. But there's one guy there. Well, there's a couple of guys. But there's no Travis Hunter walking through that tunnel. There's no Coach Prime walking through that tunnel. You're in there by yourself. And that's what worries me for Shedeur. But a playoff team, Derek, I laughed when I saw that.
He still held the ball too long in college.
Yeah.
So he's I don't know all this Shedeur hype. I think he's a very talented guy, but I'm not rating him as high as they've been rating him this year. I don't think he's the best quarterback in football, in college football. I think he has a bright upside, but he has some kinks he has to get out of his game, first of all. And the main one is getting rid of the football. He holds the ball entirely too long on many plays. And so as far as turning the team around to a playoff team within 1 year, I don't see that. Not just bringing in Shedeur, no.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more than just Shedeur Sanders. And even at that, I think it's still a toss-up.
Rudy,
I can't say it's a guarantee.
Rudy, is he rated higher than Caleb Williams was rated? No. Caleb was just... So, people forget this is a big transition from college to the NFL. And I think people forget that sometimes. You can think a guy's going to be a superstar based off his college play, but once you get to the NFL, those guys are bigger, faster, stronger. It's a totally different game. And I think even some of these general managers forget that. It's going to take time. Shedeur is not a guy that I could call right now, get ready to be the next Tom Brady or the next Patrick Mahomes. I don't see that in him. I haven't seen that at Colorado, and I don't believe I'm going to see that next year.
No, I know I'm not going to see it next year. And, I always say this 100 times every time we talk about draft is I never wish, and you don't, and Gio, everybody else, we never wish the worst on a player. We hope they have a great career. We hope that we're completely wrong when it comes to our analysts for these players and our analytics and stuff, and the way we do our scouting reports. But sadly, what we see is what happens, and that's what I'm feeling with Shedeur. A year ago, Derek, I had him, on a phone call with you. I told you he's undraftable. He's undraftable. I told you that on a phone call. I said maybe 7th round. This year, I got him at a 5th or 6th. I threw him up a little bit more. But to be the top quarterback or second best quarterback in this draft, I don't see it at all. There's no absolute way. And to be honest, the Giants are going to do it. If not the Giants, the Raiders, somebody's going to take him in that first round because of the hype. And it's the what if factor. I mean, what if he turns into the next Aaron Rodgers drafted at 20 something? What if he is Patrick Mahomes drafted at number 10 and we missed out on him? It's so tough to be a GM these days because you get pressured a lot into everything. And JD White, what's good, gents? Y'all be blessed. We'll catch up soon. Yeah, Southern Fried Sports with JD White. Be sure to check out his show. It's a fantastic show. What do you got there?
I'm just thinking, man, the game it's going to be a different game. And then the Giants are not going to return all of a sudden to a playoff team overnight. They got a lot of things they got to fix in the house. That's from the front office on down. So you can bring in Shedeur, but if you look at the quarterbacks this year, the rookie quarterbacks, which one has dominated all season? None of them.
No, because even
Bo Nick started playing better after several weeks. Jaden McDaniel started off great, and then he's kind of tapered off. Caleb Williams struggled early. Then he played good for 3 games. Then he's tapered off.
Yeah.
There's growing pains, and Shedeur's going to have the same growing pains. I don't see Shedeur as one of these guys like we talk about the Mahomes and the Bradys and the Dan Marinos. I just don't see that in Shedeur, at least not now. So he's going to have growing pains when he comes in next season. I'm not expecting him to just come in, just knock out the league, just start dominating the NFL. I just don't see that. I would like to see that, but I don't believe that.
Yeah, JD's right. A lot of the best quarterbacks in the league. He said Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, they all sat out for a year. Rodgers sat out for a couple of years. It was a while before you actually saw him. But, Patrick Mahomes, he sat out until Alex Smith went down. Another more recent guy, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, exactly.
He sat here. It's kind of weird because you get guys like, I always mention it too. Some of the best quarterbacks, Peyton Manning came into the league. He was terrible his first year, his rookie year, like tons of interceptions. I can't even remember, but he was terrible. People started questioning him. Josh Allen, Derek. People questioned Josh Allen if he would be a good quarterback. Now look at him today. Some of these guys have to play through the problems, and the difference between them and another team is those teams that Peyton played for with Indianapolis, Josh Allen, they understood it's going to be a struggle, but they put the right coaches in the right position for them to succeed. Something you're not going to see with Caleb Williams. That's why if Caleb Williams had better coaches around him, forget the players. If he just had better coaches around him, then I could see the development for Caleb Williams. If you're going to the Raiders, if you're going to the Giants, Brian Daboll is a good coach for the Giants, but who is he surrounded by? Not a whole lot. That's why Shedeur in New York, I honestly would have more faith in him as a Jet than I do as a Giant, to be honest with you.
Well, just remember, and I hope people remember, I'm wishing Shador well, but Shador is not Lamar Jackson. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, no. He definitely is not. Yeah, it says great mind things alike. Yeah, the type of you say, yep. I mean, Jordan Love sat behind him and Gazzado's in here, man. You just missed it, man. We talked about Penix a little while ago. I'll mention it again. I was excited to see that Penix is going to start, but also, from a fan standpoint, I'm happy. I'm great with it. I love it. But it's just when I look at it and I stop and like I talked to Derek a little while ago, it doesn't make sense right now. You're in a playoff race. I mean, you're a game out of first in the division. I know Kirk Cousins has been struggling, but to me, it's the timing. But yeah, I know Gonzalez probably super happy to see Penix up there right now. I'll never understand why Eberflus was given the chance to ruin two potentially good quarterbacks in Fields and Williams. Fields was another one. I think the Bears are a playoff team easily with Fields there more than anything. What happened to Kirk? Shocking. It is, but it's not. I mean, look at the struggles that he has. It's just what's more shocking is the fact that they're actually doing it now and not when he was struggling a little while ago, earlier in the season. So,
hey, Rudy, I'm sorry, but I got to bring this name up. The Cowboys got it, didn't they? Did they go to Trey Lance?
No. Well, I mean, yeah.
No, they went to Cooper Rush.
Well, no, they went to Cooper Rush. They have thrown Trey in there a couple times.
Sporadically, but look how they used Trey.
Yeah.
So you can also, the reason I brought that up, because you can also hurt a guy's confidence early in his career. Because like I said, you putting Michael Penix in a very stressful situation where guys are going to be dependent on him, and it's kind of unfair to him because he hasn't been under the bright lights. And now you only got 3 games left. That's putting a ton of pressure on him. And, sometimes guys can go the opposite direction. Anthony Richardson, they had high expectations. Has it panned out so far? No. So you got to think about the other side when you make a move like that, especially when you're sitting down a guy that you invested $45 million a year in. Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, I know. And that's what I'm saying. That Anthony Richardson thing, that's just a bad thing. 1 touchdown, 6 games of 8. He actually had 11. I think it was 10 interceptions, but 11 turnovers before getting his first touchdown, which was yesterday, as a matter of fact. So, but yeah, I mean, time. It's the time for me. I mean, you're still in a playoff race, but who knows? Maybe Michael Penix is, like he mentioned, he's 25.
Wait, though. You just said he finally got a touchdown, right?
Yeah, yesterday.
So that could mean he's on the upward trend, because how many guys stay in a slump all season with that kind of experience? So now he's finally got that taste back in his mouth and seen the end zone. Now that's the time you're going to bench him.
Yeah, it's again timing. But hey, I cross my fingers. I've already lit some candles, and hopefully Michael Penix can just continue some winning ways for Atlanta, get into the playoffs and see what happens there. He's also saying that he has 25, 26. Yeah, I mean, he's Bo Nix, basically. So I have no problems with Bo Nix. Bo Nix was my number 1 QB heading into the draft. So one thing that was funny, man, I saw this, Derek, you and I talk about it. We continue to talk about it. The Philadelphia Eagles, man, they're getting a lot of sideline stuff now. AJ Brown hugging Jalen Hurts. We're good. Now you see Coach Nick Sirianni trying to talk to Jalen Carter.
What's the big guy's name? What's the bouncer's name?
Clint Hurt.
No, that's the assistant coach. The bouncer in the middle there, the big black guy. What's his name?
Oh, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Because he certainly put his job on the line.
Yeah,
I'm not even talking about the assistant. I'm talking about the security, supposedly the personnel security guy who got in there and wouldn't let him. The big old guy looks like he's a big old wrestler or something. Wouldn't let Sirianni get over there to have that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing the turmoil, man. Something, golly, I got to find the tapes because we called this at the beginning of the year. This was going to happen. And not a great time for them to happen on. Detroit's coming off.
And they're winning.
But they're winning. They're winning, but when it's gonna pop off there. You know it's gonna pop off. And I hope it doesn't in the playoffs, but it's about to pop off.
Well, at least AJ Brown's happy now.
AJ's happy. Yeah, but now you got Nick Sirianni not very happy right now, man. Oh my God, dude. It's getting wilder and wilder when it comes to the NFL. We're talking to Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr. Normally we do this on a Wednesday night, but PFT, our friends over at Pro Football Talk, they released their rankings, Derek. Their power rankings from this past weekend's big games. Here we go, man. These are the latest power rankings from our friends over at Pro Football Talk. Eagles are at number 1. Look how far those Lions fell. Are you kidding me? Down to 5 on the power rankings. Buffalo Bills are the big one over the Detroit Lions. Are staying at 2. Chiefs are hoeing and humming at number 3. Vikings move up to 4. Lions dropping up to 5. Then, of course, you got the Packers, Ravens, Steelers, Broncos, and Commanders rounding out the top 10. But 4-spot drop for the Lions. That's pretty crazy.
That was nice, Rude. That was actually generous, to be honest about it. Because we just lost, 3 more players?
Yeah, you got Montgomery out for the year.
Yeah, out for the season with an MCL surgery coming up.
Yeah.
They lost 3 players, 1 to a broken jaw. So dropping to 5, man, until further note, I'm nervous now. I would actually have the Packers over them right now with all these injuries. We already had 13 guys injured on the defensive end. We had 5 on the offensive end. And now you throw in 3 more guys that are going to be lost for the season, man. Oh, man. Wow. I'm heartbroken.
There's got to, I think we can both use our mulligans on our Super Bowl picks if they keep losing injuries, man, because they're a healthy Lions team. And I can tell you right now, all the analysts out there, a healthy Lions team, there's no question they're probably raising that Lombardi trophy at the end of the year because they are difficult to beat. But with all these injuries, man, holy cow. I think it was 3 Pro Bowlers. I mean, Montgomery, Hutchinson, and there was somebody else that they said Pro Bowlers are gone for the season. And I don't know, can they recover? I had a buddy of mine who covers the NFL say that, I mean, he literally has Philadelphia winning the NFC now. And I said, hold on.
They shredded us.
Turmoil.
They shredded our defense, Rudy. We couldn't get a stop against Buffalo.
Yeah.
And then you got Aiden Hutchinson out. You got Marcus Davenport, all these guys out, man, at crucial positions at a crucial time in the year. And yeah, man, like I said, I'm heartbroken, man, because I got to be honest. I don't see how we can win the Super Bowl because you got to be able to play on both ends. And we didn't look good defensively at all. It puts a lot of pressure on the offense now. So if you think Dan Campbell was going for it on 4th down before, just imagine now.
I can imagine it now. Easily, I can imagine it now. I honestly, man, I think the Vikings probably are going to take it for me. I just don't like what I see in Philly on the sidelines and in the locker room. I don't like it.
What about the Packers?
I think it's Vikings and Packers are probably my 2 teams that I've got.
I would probably take, as much as I like the Vikings and Sam Darnold, I would probably take the Packers because, that you come to playoffs, Rudy, we got to remember the Packers are one of those teams that you never could count out. They just always seem to find a way to be there and come playoff time. And I will factor that in over the inexperience of the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rankings now, and I kind of agree with you on that. looking at it overall, I would trust Jordan Love more than Sam Darnold right now. When it comes to playoff time, I would definitely trust Jordan Love over Sam Darnold. I think it might be a Packer Eagles, title game to get to the Super Bowl. I can definitely see that. I mean, can you really rule out the Lions with all those injuries, though? I mean, you lose Montgomery, but I mean, you still have Jahmyr Gibbs. That just means more Gibbs.
But it's the duo. You losing one, they're going to be easier to key in on now with just Gibbs, because you're taking away that guy who has because Montgomery has some speed, but he also was our power guy around the goal line. Yeah. And so now you're putting added pressure on Jahmyr Gibbs, and teams are going to be focusing on him more. So instead of two guys now putting all that pressure on you, they're going to be putting pressure on Gibbs. And if Gibbs is going to be getting banged up, man, they're going to be trying to hit the guy really hard. And the losing Montgomery, to me, was huge. We're the only team in the league. What other team can you name in the league had the two running backs that we had? That's like Steph and Clay.
Yeah, I would say nobody right now. I mean, there's really nobody out there that I can even think of that would definitely come close at all. Like, period. I feel the moment that happened, I felt so terrible. Like, man, I'm not going to text Derek right now. I'm going to let him kind of chill for a little while.
Yeah, I was probably crying.
Golly, man. Yeah, I think I like the power rankings. I don't think I would change anything when it comes to it. Honestly, out of all of it, I would probably say maybe after this weekend, you'll see the Texans move up. I think the Texans and the Chiefs play this weekend. If the Texans can get a win, they'll move up a little bit more. I was looking at the standings, and I think the Bengals are pretty much done. Even if they win out.
Hey, Rudy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got to ask you this. Is it the last game of the season? Because the Lions and the Vikings play.
I can get that for you right now. I got the Viking. I
believe it's the last game of the season.
Yeah, last game of the season.
Oh boy, that could have some really huge playoff implications right there.
Massive. Because if you're looking at it right now, Detroit's 12-2, Minnesota's 12-2. I mean, you're tied for the division lead right now with the Packers at 10-4, still 2 games out. But I think with the Vikings, what do they have left? They've got, not only do they have Detroit the last game of the year, well, I
think they got pretty easy 2 games. The other 2 games, I believe.
They go to Seattle this week, and then they have to play Green Bay. Okay. So it's Seattle, Green Bay,
and
Detroit.
Green Bay?
Yeah.
Oh, hell, really?
So Detroit has the easier path. I hate to use the word easier. Nothing's ever easy. But, I mean, if you look at it, it's Detroit goes to Chicago, San Francisco, and then against Minnesota at home. They play Minnesota and Detroit. So, I mean, the Bears, let's just call a spade. The Bears are terrible with Caleb. But then they go to San Francisco, no McCaffrey, no Ayuk, turmoil there as well, struggling. I don't see San Francisco beating Detroit. So I think they can maybe lock up that division possibly before that Minnesota game. It's possible.
14-3. Because we might lose. We might lose one more of these games.
If you lose, it probably would be the Minnesota game if it's meaningless, I would say.
So Minnesota has Seattle,
Green Bay,
Lions, and Green Bay.
Yeah,
Seattle, Green Bay, and the Lions.
They go to Seattle, and I think they come back home to play Green Bay and Minnesota. But remember, Green Bay's trying to get that top spot.
So the Packers are going to be trying to win out, because if the Packers win out, then anything can happen in these last 3 games.
Yeah, so if the Packers win out, they'll have obviously they'll get the 5th seed if they win out and Minnesota struggles, because they're 2 games behind Minnesota. If they beat Minnesota, they're a game out. There's no guarantee that Minnesota beats Seattle, nor is there a guarantee they beat Detroit.
But there's a chance that one of those two could lose 2 out of these last 3 games. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a good chance. There's a very good chance. And I mean, if you're looking at Green Bay's schedule, just for S and giggles right now, they play New Orleans, Minnesota, then Chicago. So their schedule is not as bad either. It's Minnesota's schedule that's really tough.
I'm hoping we can just stay above, well, we can stay afloat, I'll say. And we'll see what happens next game. Hopefully it won't come down to the last game of the season. But right now, I mean, the Ravens are smiling as well because the Ravens thinking they're going to be moving up. I'm sure that's what they're thinking when they're looking at all these injuries that's happening with some of these teams. And then the Chiefs have been kind of beat up as well.
Yeah. Mahomes is fine. He did have a high ankle sprain, which funny because when I went on social media, they said the annual injured Holmes ankle sprain is right on cue. Always at the end of the year, he hurts his ankle. One of the games at the end of the year, and they said it's right on cue. But yeah, they're kind of banged up as well. I mean, a lot of these teams are going to be limping into the playoffs, and that could be good. That could be bad. I'm looking at it right now. The Chargers are the 7th seed. They're the last team in at 8-6. And that's why I said, Cincinnati, Miami, and Indianapolis are all 6-8. I can't see any of those teams catching up to the Chargers. I think LA wins at least one of the last 3 games to at least kind of clinch that last playoff spot. I mean,
Chargers are a deadly team still. I know they had a slip up the last game, but I still say the Chargers are dangerous.
I believe so. Going into the playoffs, I believe so. It's going to be a fun last couple of weeks for the NFL, and that's what I'm kind of excited for.
Could you picture? And I'm just saying, throwing this out. I don't think it's going to happen, but could you picture? If the Chargers were to win the Super Bowl, who's their coach?
That would be Jim Harbaugh.
Could you imagine that? I know that's never happened in history, where you win in college one year and then the next year you win the NFL Super Bowl.
I can picture it.
I had to throw that out there, man.
I think the crazy part of it, that's the craziness right there. I'd never even snapped to that. NCAA title 1 year, come to the NFL the next year, win the Lombardi, the Super Bowl trophy or championship. Wow, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. I bet you
Harbaugh has thought about that though. When he's at home having a Mai Tai or whatever, that's something that's went through his head. I mean, that's history there.
I'm looking at the teams in the AFC that are in right now, and the only team I'm afraid of is Buffalo. That's it. If I'm Jim Harbaugh,
Buffalo should be number 1, Rudy.
Should be.
With what's going on with the Eagles on the sidelines and in the locker room, I think right now, if they were to rank them properly, the Bills should be number 1. Josh Allen, in my mind, has cemented the MVP. And right now, all signs are pointing up with Buffalo. They just put up 48 points. I would have them ranked over the Eagles right now with the in-house turmoil that they have going on. I
agree. I have Buffalo number 1. Josh Allen is your MVP. I don't even know if I have anybody close to him right now. There's people can say, well, Saquon. Well, no. I mean, Saquon would be close if they wouldn't do the tush push on the 1 and give Saquon all those touchdown carries. That would put him a lot closer, but that is not going to work for him. Nobody else comes close. But
his team is hurting his chances because instead of talking about Saquon, what have we been talking about the last 2 weeks?
AJ Brown,
the in-house stuff, the negativity that's going. See, that's taken away from his MVP voting. the voters they're thinking about all the other negative stuff that's going on. And all they're thinking about when it comes to Josh Allen is the positives that are going on. Him and his 6 touchdowns, and then what he did against the Lions the other day. So all of that. And then you look at the Eagles, they're hurting their running backs' opportunities. They got people thinking about the wrong thing when they think about the Eagles.
I give him props. He's kind of been quiet about everything. I know it eats him up alive, but he's been quiet about everything. He's just finally happy he's on a winning organization. I'll give him that. I mean, they made the playoffs in New York one year with Daniel Jones, but now he's got a legit opportunity to win a Super Bowl, which, barring the injuries anymore, that looked like it's a very good possibility this year if they can get past the Buffalo Bills and the Packers.
He could have been the first running back since Adrian Peterson. What was that, like 2010? He could have been the first running back to win MVP. And I think his team has helped tarnish that. And it's sad to see. Right now, I think everybody's thinking Josh Allen.
Yeah, looking up the list, there's really nobody else to even think about MVP. I mean, Goff.
Well, they still talking about Lamar. They still talking about Lamar because I think he only has, 3 interceptions or something and 35 or 37 touchdowns or something, and I think 3 interceptions.
Let me check Lamar's stats. Before we go, I do want to check his stats. So he's got 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's passed for over 3,500 yards. Of course, he's coning in on 1,000 yards. He's in rushing. He's at 743. He can easily get to 1,000 in 3 games. Touchdown-wise, he's only got 3 touchdowns on the ground, so that gives him about 37 overall. I could probably put Lamar probably at number. I can actually put him at 2 maybe right now, 2 or 3.
He's past Joe Burrow for sure. Yeah. He's past Joe Burrow.
Yeah, because with me too, it's also about winning. Burrow would have to put up, like Dan Marino numbers and just Tom Brady 50 touchdowns in a season type numbers in order for me to say, okay, you're on a losing team. You have a legit shot to be an MVP of the league. Josh Allen sits at 25 touchdowns passing. He's at 3,300 yards or close to 3,400 yards, 5 interceptions. He's, got 11 touchdowns on the ground. So that surpasses Lamar. Either way, they both are probably equal on touchdowns, overall touchdowns, pretty close to interceptions. I want to say Lamar has a few more fumbles than Josh. This is crazy stat. Josh has no fumbles on the year.
That's spectacular because he usually has 5 of them in the first 6 games of the season.
Yeah, and that's a crazy stat. I just saw that for Josh Allen rushing wise, he has no fumbles on the year, which that's an amazing stat. Wow,
unanimous MVP. Because the only negative that's ever been with him is that he will fumble the football.
Yeah.
Unanimous MVP right now for me.
I do not disagree with you on that as well, man. I want to say the Milwaukee Bucks ended up winning tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I already got somebody that already wrote me. A guy lives in Milwaukee. Has already been letting me know.
Well, Giannis was named the Cup MVP. The Milwaukee Bucks do take down the Oklahoma City Thunder 97-81. Turns their season around. I don't know, man. Didn't do much for the Lakers last year. I don't know if it does a whole lot for the Milwaukee Bucks this season. So we shall definitely see. But one thing comes for sure is we will be back tomorrow at 9:00 for another edition of Sweep the League. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Tomorrow we'll get into some more NBA talks, more NFL talk. We'll start covering a little bit more about the NCAA. And then also, I saw something, Derek, I want to get with you on tomorrow because, again, I got upset earlier today with the disrespect of an NBA player. And this guy has a record or 2 records, actually, that'll never be broken. and people overlook him. And I'm pretty sure you know who
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, little guy.
Isn't life in Utah nice? Yeah, we'll get into it.
We talk about the Jazz more than they do in Utah on this show. That's crazy, man.
Hey, Rudy, before we go, can I give a quick shout out, man?
Yeah.
You know, I got my Spurs stuff. Greg Popovich has finally spoken.
Yeah.
And we don't know his timetable as far as returning, but just the fact that we finally heard from Pop is a positive thing, and I want to send my prayers out to him. Whether he comes back this year and coaches or not, I'm hoping he has the opportunity if he wants, and I just want to wish him well as far as just getting his health back.
Yeah, and just real quick, this was the statement from Coach Pop that I did post on the Sweep the League X page. It says, "This has certainly been an unexpected 6 weeks for my family and me as we work together on my recovery. I want to take a moment to share that the outpouring of support we've received during this time has been truly overwhelming in the best possible way. While I wish I could get back to each one of you, for now, let me say that my family and I are forever grateful. We're thankful for our wonderful community, the entire Spurs organization, and our family and friends. No one is more excited to see me return to the bench than the talented individuals who have been leading my rehabilitation process. They've quickly learned that I'm less than coachable." So yeah, shout out to Coach Pop out there. Definitely going through some rehabilitation. Again, you know, we really don't know if he intends to come back to coach or if he wants to come back to coaching. He's just basically put that statement out there just to tell everybody know he's okay. I think that was the most important thing, because nobody had heard from him, and just let everybody know that he's doing okay. He's rehabilitating, and, you know, prayers are always going to be with Pop here from all of us here at Sweep the League. So as soon as more comes out from Coach Pop, we'll definitely let everybody know. But for right now, when we come back tomorrow, we'll talk a lot more NCAA, NFL, NBA, and also the disrespect. I hope I can get Coach G on that show tomorrow, because he never likes the disrespect when it comes to former NBA players. But just to think that people don't look at John Stockton the way that he's supposed to be looked. I mean, hell, man, I look at guys like Nolan Ryan in MLB. He has a record, couple records out of it. They'll never, ever be touched. Like, never. I can go to my dying days and say Nolan Ryan's records and John Stockton records, they're going to be there probably until my great grandkids. They'll never be broken. Those are like unbreakable records, I feel. I don't know. I mean, that's just me. That's just me talking on that right there.
I'll be ready tomorrow to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy conversation. But for Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr., until we speak to you again tomorrow, see you later, knuckleheads.
Everybody have a good night.